Java, AeroDemo, Part 4. Okay, let's look at our last part here, and that's the delete button. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the code for our delete button right here. So now there's several different things we need to consider when we delete from our array list. Okay, so I just want to sketch it out here real quick. So I'm just going to draw an array list, sort of like right in here. Okay, so now the first thing that we're going to do here is we're going to look at the very first box here. Okay, so when we delete from the very first position, we need to know whether or not there's something following it or not. Okay, so if there's something following this, okay, then all of these guys here will scoot over and fill that next spot. Okay, however, if we have just one item left in our array list and we delete that, okay, then there's going to be nothing in here to move, okay, and then we're going to have to deal with how we deal with putting information here and displaying what goes here, okay, and what our counter is going to be at here for I'll pause, okay. So we've got those two scenarios going on. So let's look at that first scenario here. So we're going to go through a series of if, okay, so now here we're looking at here of the I'll pause variable, okay, the array list position at 0, and okay, my size, okay, so we're looking at the size of our array list, okay, is greater than 1, okay, so the size is greater than 1. So remember, size 1, 2, 3, this is spot 0, 1, 2. So if it's greater than 1, meaning we got boxes here, then we'll be able to slide those boxes over and we'll have something to fill in this spot right here. So what we're going to do then, if there's something there, we're going to remove at 0. Okay, now this here then is still going to be at 0. Okay, so it's going to be there. So everything is now sliding to the left. Okay, so there'll be something to fill that in. Take the contents of that. So what was at this position 0, or what was at position 1 now becomes position 0. So we're going to take that out, save it as a string, store it, and set the text in here. And then we're going to update our text field too, right there. So that's what's happening on that first scenario. Now let's look at the second scenario right here. Okay, so our I'll pause is 0 again. Okay, but now our size is equal to 1. So that's basically saying, all right, here's our array list. Okay, here's position 0. It's got a size of 1. Now, if we delete this box, there's nothing for anything to fill in our text field. Okay, so there's nothing to slide over on that. This is the last box that's there. So we need to deal with what do we put in our text field and how do we deal with this guy right here. So what we're going to do then is check for that. So we're going to say, are we at 0? That's what we're doing here. And the size is 1. So we've got one box. So we're still going to remove this last box. So this box is going to go away. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to fill in our text field 1, this one here, with a space. We're going to blank out this field here with a space. And then our delete button. Okay, so we don't want to delete anymore, okay, because there's nothing to delete. Once this box is gone, there is nothing in the array list for it to delete. So we're going to set that delete button so to false, meaning we're going to disable the delete button. Okay, so that will become disabled. So we'll disable the delete button right here, and they will not be able to delete another box because we've deleted them all. Okay, now let's look at the other side of the spectrum. What happens then if we've got our array list going on right here? Okay, so here's our 0, 1, 2, and we delete this box right here. Okay, so what has to happen? Our alpos, our array list position variable, needs to go to here. Okay, and then that way we can display the contents of this box right here. So if we delete this, we have to move our alpos variable down by 1 and then display the contents right here. So what are we doing? Here we are removing the last box. Okay, here now we're decrementing our alpos variable, so the variable went from 2 to 1. Okay, now we're getting the contents out of this box and putting it into text field 1, and now we're updating here text field 2. Okay, that's what happens at the last box. So we've taken care of what happens at the beginning, what happens at the end. Let's look at if we delete something from the center. So if I've got something from the center, here's our array list. Okay, so if I delete this box here, okay, so I remove that there. We're going to decrement our counter and everything will shift. Okay, so we remove, decrement, pull the contents out, and update our box. Okay, so those are the 4 scenarios that we have to look at when we delete from an array list. So we have to deal with what happens at the very beginning, okay, and whether or not there's extra boxes, whether or not we're deleting from the very beginning and it's the only box, okay, what happens if we delete from the very end, or what happens when we delete from the center. So that's how we delete from an array list, and that's how we can deal with the 4 scenarios with our array list and updating our text field.